Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back again to academic reading course. In today's unit, we are going to talk about critical reading. These videos will cover on how and what is actually critical reading and how to do critical reading in academic reading. Right. I'm going to start this by explaining what is actually critical reading. The idea in academic reading is that first, the text or the passage that we read should be academical, and second, we need to be an active reader in order to not only to actually get the information or get the knowledge from what we read, but also we evaluate what we read. So we are not putting ourselves as a passive reader, but we are putting ourselves as an active reader. That's why we need the skill. The skill is to be a critical reader. To evaluate the text that we read, we need to be a critical reader. And how to be the critical reader? So being a critical reader is that putting yourself not into a position to get the knowledge, but also you need to put yourself in the position to evaluate the data that you read. So anything that you read, everything we read, including passage, pictures, or everything that we see is human-made, right? So there must be something that we need to evaluate in order to protect ourselves from biased information or untrue information or even propaganda inside of the text. So what is actually the critical reading? Critical reading is the ability to see the passage as something that we need to filter first before trusting it. So how do we do that? We do that in three ways. Number one, we need to distinguish what is fact and interpretation. What is fact and opinion, right? So how are we going to decide which one is a fact, which one is interpretation? So we will cover that in the next course. So the first skill is that we need to be able to distinguish what is fact and interpretation. If we see in one passage there will be a fact, for example, then this fact should be confirmed, right? We need to confirm whether the fact is true or untrue. While if we got the opinion, then we need to evaluate this opinion using the second skill. The second skill is detecting propaganda. So we need to detect the propaganda inside of the opinion in order to trust them, right? So if there is a propaganda, then we will skip this information as something that is not acceptable to understand or to gain or to save the information, right? And the last one is we need to be able to recognize the bias by detecting the logical fallacies, right? Inside of the opinion, there will be a logical fallacies. So we will cover that also in the next course. In logical fallacies, if we have one knowledge that is logically fallacies, or there is a fallacies in the logic, then we will not take that as the valid information to be recognized, right? Okay, so what is the goal actually of critical reading? The goal of critical reading is first to recognize an outer purpose. So we need to understand what is the outer purpose first before starting to read the text, right? Because sometimes the text is created only for a specific purpose. Then we need to see the outer purpose in order to get or in order to trust that information. Second, to understand tone and persuasive element. So we need to understand what is passive, what is the persuasive element, and what element that could attract us as the reader. And then lastly is to recognize the bias. We need to distinguish what is the bias inside of the text before trusting the text from the very first place. Alright, so the question of critical reading are, there are 7 critical questions of the critical reader need to be answered before starting the reading. First, where is this material from? Is this a valid source of information? Second, who is the writer? Is he or she qualified to write about their topic? Because sometimes the writer is not qualified enough to write the topic, right? And then third, can I trust the information? Number 4, what is the writer purpose in writing it? Number 5, what is the writer's point of view about the topic? 6, how does the information compare to what I already know? And 7, based on what I already know and believe, do I agree with the statement? Right? So a critical reader person is the person who does not believe in everything he reads, who question everything which doesn't make sense to him, and also questions some things even though they do make sense to him. So reread when he thinks he may have missed something, and consider the type of material is what he's reading before deciding how much weight to give to it, and admit that the effect of what the author says may be cost more to the author's style writing than the fact presented. And last one, analyze the argument and discount argument based on the faulty reasonings and has a good reason for believing some things and disbelieving others, for agreeing with some author and disagreeing with some author. So we need reason in order to gain that information. So how do we consider the source? We need to consider the source by admitting what kind of publication is this and what is the author background in the subject and to whom the author is writing. So in order to evaluate the source, there are 7 questions that need to be answered. First is the writer qualified, website belong to the personal or organization, free of charge, what is the purpose, is the text reliable to other personal ideas, open source website or not, or is that an editor or not. Okay. In order to recognize what the person said, is we need to understand, had the author really said what I think he said, and does the author make a consistent statement or not. So this is actually the things that we need to evaluate in critical reading. If you are a critical reader, so you put your position in what we call it, in a not easy to believe on what you read, and putting yourself as the active reader in order to evaluate the information inside of the text that you read, not putting your position as the consumers of the information. So that is critical readers. In the next topic, we are going to talk about how to distinguish fact and opinion, and then how to detect the propaganda, and lastly to identify what is the logical fallacies inside of the text. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you everyone. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.